Right, here we go. These are going to be two very interesting ones. So, Aaron, do you want to go with India?
I shall indeed. I shall indeed. And to be honest, there's a lot of reasons why India can win the 2021 World Cup, as I shall suggest now. Number one, pedigree. Winners of the first ever tournament in 2007, beating Pakistan. Also finalists in 2014, semi-finalist in 2016. Number two, star power, star caliber. Virat Kohli pretty much says it all, doesn't it? The run chase master, Rohit Sharma, the hitman. You got Jadeja, you got Pant, you got a fantastic balance of the middle order. You got an excellent spin attack with the likes of Ashwin, Axar Patel, Jadeja, Chakravarti, and Rahul Chahar. And then, of course, three seam demons in the forms of Mohammad Shami, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and, of course, the Yorker special himself, Jasprit Bumrah. Number three, they've been playing in the IPL. Every single one of those players have got match experience in the UAE, unlike a lot of these other squads where not all of these players have been selected. They've been acclimatised to conditions. They've been performing well for the most part. I know some players haven't been in the greatest of form, but they have at least been playing in the stadiums. And number four, one of the biggest reasons why, motivation. Of course, they haven't won it since 2007. They've got close, and this year, as we all know, Virat Kohli, unfortunately, is dropping the captaincy. So why not go out with a blaze of glory? So that is why India will win the World Cup. There aren't really many rebuttals that you can say, because India are the best team on paper, alongside the West Indies. And Jai Hind. Jai Hind. They're going all the way.
Well, I have a few questions about form. Number one, I've seen a lot of stats. Again, I haven't been watching it, but I've seen the stats for it on Virat Kohli, who's been opening, hasn't he, for RCB, I think. So that then signifies to me that he's going to be opening, probably Rohit Sharma. So I guess I don't know where KL Rahul fits into there. But anyways, number three, I guess. Well, I don't know. But anyway, Virat Kohli, his strike rate in the middle overs is pretty poor and has been throughout the whole IPL. Do you think that's going to hinder India going forward? Because most likely he's a fantastic player, so he will stay in most games. He's not going to get out early. So that's my first. And my second one was going to be in terms of form. Like Suryakumar Yadav's been in pretty poor form. Hardik Pandya, I don't think, has been in very good form either.
Ishan Kishan scored 50
that's what I mean.
from 25 balls.
That's poor form, Hardik being injured. No, I'm joking. but Ishan Kishan... but Ishan Kishan hasn't done that well, has he, in the IPL?
He scored 50 from 25 balls tonight as Mumbai won by 8 wickets.
But what else has he done?
What did he do before that, Aaron? What's he done before that?
Yeah.
Hang on.
In this season.
This season?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but last season he was excellent and was their third leading run scorer. So Ishan Kishan, again, has pedigree. He has star power. He can single-handedly change a game. So that's Ishan Kishan out of the way. Who's next? Hardik Pandya. We all know what Pandya can do. One of the best finishers in the game. At the death, over 200 strike rate, alongside Colin de Grandhomme, who isn't appearing in this year's World Cup. So Hardik Pandya, that's another one. Even if they don't bowl him, you've still got options. You've got the likes of Axar. You've got Virat Chakravarti with his bag of tricks. The man's got more tricks than Houdini. So Chakravarti's going to be an X factor. Then you've got Rahul Chahar, the aggressive leg spinner, who's got a fantastic record in the UAE. So, to be honest, on paper, this India side are very, very strong. You mentioned about Virat Kohli, and I go back to the old adage, form is temporary, class is permanent. Okay, the cream always rises to the top, and Virat Kohli is the cream of the cream, isn't he? The creme de la creme, the cream of the crop, the wheat amongst the proverbial chaff. So, yeah, Virat Kohli got no doubt he'll perform in this year's World Cup. He's got the fire in the belly, just as he has for RCB. He's given up the captaincy. He wants to win this tournament as the captain. And, yeah, you just look at that team. I mean, this is the key thing in comparison to a lot of other teams. That top six can pretty much pick itself. I'm going to be honest. I can, pick a top six quite easily from India. You have Kohli and Sharma opening. Rahul / Yadav at 3, depending on who they want as the anchor. Number 4, you got Ishan Kishan. Number 5, Rishabh Pant. Number 6, Pandya as the finisher. 7, Jadeja. 8, Axar Patel potentially. I'd go with Axar personally. Then you got Bhuvi, Shami, and Bumrah. I think that's pretty strong.
I'm just going to say, sorry, Fazan, just to cut you off. What's Rahul Chahar's record in this IPL in the UAE leg so far?
Well, he hasn't been playing, but then again, hang on. As Kashif mentioned earlier, Roston Chase never even played a T20I.
That's true. Fair enough.
Rahul Chahar.
You can't deflect it onto Roston Chase.
I'm just saying, in fact, lads, I do have some wonderful stats, actually, with regards to India, in particular, the seamers. I just want to know your thoughts on the economy rates at the death in 2021. In terms of the top 5 most economic players, you got Rashid at the top, 5.86 runs and over. Siddharth Kaul, unfortunately, isn't playing in this year's T20 World Cup, so I suppose that's a little bit redundant. Dwayne Bravo's in 3rd. Who's in 4th? Jasprit Bumrah, 8.1 runs and over. So that's quite a good economy rate of the death. And then, of course, you've got Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, who's the power play wicket specialist. Only one of 2 players in IPL history who have bowled over 50 power play overs to have an economy rate under 6, alongside Rashid Khan. So
my issue isn't with the bowling, so they're batting.
What's the issue with the batting?
I don't.
We haven't got Dhawan, fair enough, or Shreyas Iyer. He's in the reserves, but what's the qualms?
I don't think KL. I don't think KL. I don't.
Rahul, the leading IPL run scorer. 2018 was the 3rd. 2019 was 2nd. Orange cap last year, leading again this year.
Yeah, but he was last year, and then he got completely destroyed by England.
Hang on. Everyone has dips in form. It's part and parcel of the game. We can't all be Sachin Tendulkar every single year.
Unless you're Sachin Tendulkar.
Unless you're Sachin Tendulkar. Yeah, that's true.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Chahal.
Oh, yeah.
Sad to miss out. Should he be playing instead of Chahal?
Oh, that's an interesting one, to be honest. He's a different spinner. That's the thing with Chahal. He's more flight, guile, deception, and obviously an RCB fan, Kashif. I'd love to see him in there. I know he hasn't been in the greatest of T20I forms, but you look this season, he's been pretty good for RCB. And as I said, he's a very, very clever and gifted spinner. The thing with Chahal, though, which I will admit, I know he hasn't really played a lot this year, of course. They played with Giant Yadav and Krunal Pandya, but the thing that I do like about Rahul Chahal, he goes stump to stump. And what India have got, which Mumbai Indians don't really have, is that, real tight economic bowler at the other end, whether that is Jadeja or Axar Patel. And that will allow Rahul Chahar, if needed, if he's in that 11, it'll allow him to be a lot more aggressive. Go with the googly, which has served him so well for Mumbai since 2018. So even though I probably would have gone Chahal, I do think if required, I still think they'll go Chakravarti. But if they do need some leg spin for Rahul Chahar, I think it'll be a dangerous option.
Yeah, it's interesting. You didn't put Pant in your team. I'm assuming that's just a mistake.
Oh, I think I missed him out. I think I only listed 10 players. Yeah, okay. I did. Pants at 5.
Yeah. Any other questions, people? Go on, Ali.
So India, massive pedigree, always get to the semi-finals, but they haven't won anything in 8 years in a major trophy. What takes them to the next level? What gets them to the extra step this World T20?
Well, that's an interesting question, Ali. But I suppose you could look at England as well. We had never won an ICC World Cup. We had got absolutely battered by Bangladesh in 2015 and turned it around in 4 years. So a lot can happen in 5 years. And look at this India side. They've got a beautiful blend of youth and experience with the likes of Ishan Kishan, Rishabh Pant, the next generation coming through. And then, of course, you've got the old heads, the experienced veterans, the Ashwins, the Sharmas, the Kohlis, who have learnt from those experiences. And as I said, this is, it's not technically a home World Cup. Of course, India haven't played a lot of T20I matches in the UAE, but they're playing their domestic season here. They're playing the IPL here right now as we speak. They've got a lot of inner motivation, a lot of inner steel, a lot of inner fortitude to win this World Cup, not just for the fans of India, but for their captain as well, Virat Kohli. This is his final ICC tournament as India's captain in the T20 arena. So I think they've got plenty of things going for them. Of course, T20 cricket, we haven't really mentioned it in the podcast. That's the Carrot Cricket podcast stuff creeping in there. In today's show, sorry. We haven't really mentioned it, but T20 cricket is very, very unpredictable. Okay, we can't, as much as we're here, saying that the teams are all going to win this, that, the other, anything can happen. So who knows, Ali? Who knows?
I've got a pushback on that, actually, because India haven't won an ICC tournament under Kohli. Now, the fact that they made the final of the World T20, the World Test Championship and lost, but obviously in the World Cup as well, the T20 World Cups, they were favourites. Definitely Champions Trophy final against Pakistan. I was there. They choked big time because Pakistan were massive underdog going into that. Sorry, Cash. And I watched it, and obviously we performed well, but they definitely choked on the day. And I think they've got an issue in finals. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you not think that the fact that it's going to be Kohli's last tournament as captain, not last tournament obviously, but last tournament as captain, do you think that's added pressure for him as well And do you not think it could implode and the team could basically harm them even more because they're already under pressure, given the fact they haven't won an ICC tournament they've been expected to?
Not really. I'm going to be honest, because again, anything can happen. It's a funny sport, isn't it? Look at England, for example. We didn't have a great record in World Cups, and we won it in 2019 after having a terrible campaign in 2015. On paper, India go into this World Cup with a really, really strong team. Of course, there's going to be massive expectations. They are the biggest country in terms of population. You've got 1.3 billion people in India. Well over 1 billion people watch cricket in the country. So I don't think that's going to be a massive issue, to be honest, with India. I think they've just been a little bit unlucky, I suppose. Maybe not with 2017. Pakistan definitely deserved to win that. But in terms of 2016, for example, if you remember the semi-final against the West Indies, it was that no ball, wasn't it? Against the West Indies by Hardik Pandya, I believe it was, or was it Bumrah? One of them overstepped. And basically that changed the entire complexion of the game because Lendl Simmons went on to go and smash a good 50. So I don't think that's going to be a massive factor, to be honest, Faizan. The fact is, every single time these guys represent India, you're representing over 1 billion people anyway. And I just feel like Kohli's last chance, and I hope this is the same for RCB as well, as an RCB fan, right? I just hope that last chance saloon, okay, one last ride into the sunset, hopefully it ends with some silverware.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can I ask a quick one just about India?
Yeah.
So we've sort of said with Kohli, Sharma, Ashwin. Obviously, a lot of these players undoubtedly are world class, but I just wonder whether T20 is necessarily the best format for them, and whether that might actually play a part when it comes down to it.
That is an excellent question. And to be honest with Ashwin, I'd definitely agree with that. I do feel like the longer formats do suit Ashwin better. But I suppose the good thing with this India side, they don't heavily rely on Ravichandran Ashwin in comparison to Test cricket, because they do have other options. You've got Jadeja, you've got Patel, you've got Chakravarti as well. So obviously with Ashwin, he would boost the tail a little bit, but they're not necessarily over-relying on him in the format. In terms of Virat Kohli, of course, I mean, you could say the same thing in terms of him and Steve Smith. I feel like Kohli is definitely a more accomplished T20 player than Steve Smith, as his IPL and T20I records suggest. But I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me being biased, but I don't feel like, these players are going to have an issue in this year's tournament. I just feel like this year, if they are going to win a World Cup, 2021 is probably the best chance they've had compared to 2016. I know that was at home, of course, but I just feel like the balance on paper, at least, of this team is fantastic. And every single one of those guys in that starting 11 will be very, very worthy of their spot and very, very dangerous indeed in these conditions.
No? Was there any other questions?
I do need to go in a minute, chap. So if there is...
Basically, hurry up.